great attendance. I can see everybody is so keen to know about Australia and how we can break into future opportunities. Let me do a quick introduction of our eminent panelists today, and then we can move from there to the agenda of the webinar. We have with us Abhinav Bhatia, and I think this is the first time I'm having him, so I'll just read about him a little bit. He's Senior Trade and Investment Commissioner for South Asia for the Trade and Investment Queensland, so India office based out of Bangalore. And I think we'll know more from him. What is the role of Trade and Investment Queensland and what they do to promote Australia and India? He's an expert in international trade and investments and has worked with several foreign governments, corporates, and non-profits over the last 15 years. Before joining this particular role, he has also worked with Enterprise Ireland as a director for India and South Asia. His expertise lies in proving market intelligence and soft landing to foreign companies looking to expand in the South Asian markets. Great. Thanks a lot, Abhinav, for your time today.
Thanks, Ankur.
We look forward to hearing from you the important points which we need to keep in mind as we think about breaking into future opportunities in Australia. We have Shrikant with us. Shrikant is a dear friend, and I think you guys have seen him earlier also in a few of our webinars. He's a passionate educationist over the last 15 years of experience in international education. He's currently leading the global marketing for James Cook University, Brisbane. He's also an Australian alumni and often writes articles and blogs on international education. And with that, we have Ramya Mohan Krishnan. Welcome, Ramya. I think you are the first time I'm having you in a webinar. She heads the International Education and Training South Asia, Trade and Investment Queensland. And finally, we have Aparna, whom we have met multiple times. She has been the face of JCUB for all my learners. So Aparna, though you are having your camera off, welcome to the webinar. And she heads the marketing in South Asia for James Cook University, Brisbane. Great, thanks a lot. And with this, I will hand over to Abhinav to start with his presentation and let us know about what is Study Queensland and how we can break into future opportunities. I think there is a title of the webinar today.
Thanks, Ankur. Thanks a lot for the kind introduction, and also congratulations on the great work Upgrad has been doing. Such a remarkable company, such a remarkable journey, and so much to learn from how Upgrad has disrupted the space. I'll take a few minutes today to take our viewers on a journey to Queensland and share why Queensland is a suitable option that they should consider when they're looking to study abroad and get a global exposure. As Ankur mentioned, I lead the Study Queensland operations, which is actually part of Government of Queensland, and the government body is called Trade and Investment Queensland. And within that, there is a study angle, there is a trade angle. In the study part, we work with all the universities, institutions from Queensland who are recruiting students from around the world, including India. And on the trade part, all the Queensland universities, companies, and thousands of them, whenever they're looking to go outside of Queensland, we are their first port of call. They want to get in touch with us to know how India operates, how Indonesia, Korea. We have 16 offices around the world helping those companies understand foreign markets. And that's where I think we are getting a good understanding of what corporates are doing and what students are doing. And that's where we can make a good guidance mentorship, that what kind of opportunities students can look forward to when they come to Queensland. So we'll broadly talk about 4 things in my presentation. I have just moved to the next slide. Is everyone able to see those slides? Yeah?
Yes, we.
Okay, great. So We will be introducing Queensland, of course, the state, the northeastern state of Australia. Study Queensland, which is the organization that I work with, which is part of Government of Queensland. Which are the key industries Queensland has? What sort of job opportunities are there in the state? And fourth, which is sort of a highlight and which took a lot of our enthusiasm last month when we were declared that 2032 Olympics will be hosted in Brisbane, which is the capital city of Queensland, with a great moment of pride for us and also a big opportunity for the state to gather a lot of interest on the tourism side, sports side, business side, and I'll talk a bit about what are the implications and why we are talking about Olympics, which is going to happen 10, 11 years down the line. What is the need of having a discussion on that? I'll come to that shortly. So here, I think, as I stated, the role of Queensland government and Trade and Investment Queensland and Study Queensland. So basically, we are the agency that is responsible for, government agency that is responsible for ensuring that students' experiences high quality, students get the right support that they're looking for. And we have some incredible universities in the state, including JCU, who have made student experience taken to a whole new level. So that's why it's a great collaboration between the government and the universities. Here, I wanted to give a quick glance about the state in general. You would see the population figures, and some of you might laugh a bit. 5 million people, it's a tiny number for an Indian context, but for an Australian context, or even a lot of Western countries, 5 million people is a pretty big population. So it's a state with 5 million people. It's a very, very innovative state, and Brisbane is a very innovative city. A lot of innovation startups are coming out of our state, and there is great amount of knowledge economy that is building in this region. Of course, we are by size the second largest state, and some of our key industries are in aviation, healthcare, creative industry, engineering, IT, technology. Tourism, of course, is one of the biggest ones. And if you don't know why, just type Queensland in Google, go to images and look at how Queensland pictures show up. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous location. And that's, I think, is a very big USP for Queensland, that you will have great quality of lifestyle. You will have very strong ecosystem of job, but you will also equally have a gorgeous location right next to you. So you get best of both worlds. You don't need to make vacation plans to be in a nice location. It will be 15 minutes drive from your campus. That's how it is in Queensland. This is a part that we had to include over the last 18 months. COVID, which is a unpleasant, harsh reality that all of us had to go through, are still going through. And I'm mentioning it here to give you some sort of comfort that if a situation like this persists over a long period of time, or some other unforeseen event happens, the government, state, university will be standing behind you to support this. In this particular pandemic, Queensland government allocated $15 million to support international students, and that ranged from giving cash support to students who were struggling because many of them were doing part-time jobs. Those jobs vanished after the lockdowns. Also, some of them had trouble getting in touch with their families who were sending money to them, livelihood money to them, and that became an issue during the pandemic. And of course, there were strict border closure so that the virus doesn't spread as much as it has in the rest of the world. And I think Australia and particularly Queensland did a remarkable job in containing the virus and ensured that the student community is protected. There are a whole host of things that were done, but the underlying message here is that government will be standing behind you if there is anything like that and will provide you every necessary support. So, and I think the big question that all the students would ask is, why do we even consider Queensland? First question is, why Australia? And then why Queensland? I think a lot of you have uh, great knowledge about Australian ecosystem and the quality of life, the post-study work permits, the options to live and work in the country, all of those things you're well aware about. Specific to Queensland, I'll highlight just two things. One is the affordability concept. Within Australia, all regions have some things which are very similar. Queensland, because of the virtue of the way state evolved, how industries evolved, it is still one of the most affordable places to live in Australia in terms of your living cost, rentals, your cost to eat out, all of those things are in comparison lesser. And that's why it becomes less taxing on your pocket or your parents' pocket when you are looking at studying abroad. So that's one big factor. And other is the way senior leadership within the state is thinking about new economy, new industries. There is huge emphasis on developing innovation hubs around the state, be it newer technologies like artificial intelligence, IoT, advanced manufacturing, biomedicine. All of those areas have been given a huge importance. There is a project and there is a budget worth $650 million that has been put to get all of this industry operating and booming. And why is it relevant for you? Because when you graduate, you want to work in many of these industries. Those industries are getting a lot of support from the government, and it will be good for you to look at those opportunities before you make the decision of where you want to be. As I mentioned, that the state is focused a lot on innovation, innovative industries, and research part again is a big pride area for us. We take a lot of pride in the quality of research that happens, the quality of patents being filed in the state, patents being filed with some of the best universities in Queensland. And if you have a bent of mind where you want to focus a lot on research, this is the place you should definitely consider. I will talk about a few things here in which we will highlight the kind of things we as state government are doing, we as Study Queensland are doing. And of course, Shrikant will have a whole host of things that JCU is doing. But as a state government, we launched a program called Launch U Trade Accelerator. Very, very inventive, very interesting program. And I think a few years back, we were all introduced to case study-based learning that solve problems that real businesses faced to a case and give your analysis. I think we took it a step further. Rather than reading a case, we get you in touch with real companies. We mentioned that we are advisors to thousands of Queensland companies who want to go outside. Those companies, let's say when they are coming to India, they want to understand, how do we price our product? Do we go direct to the consumer or do we use distributors? Should we file a patent or a global patent will work? So all of that questions, something that they don't have answers to, and they will have to engage consulting firms to get those answers. We have given this mandate to students who are studying in Queensland universities, that these companies come to us with questions and we find students who can do a project and work work on those questions and give their informed, intelligent opinion on how they should consider going to a particular market. And here is just an example. The project would be of 100 different countries. So far, 1,300 students have taken part in such initiatives, and 200 plus business problems have been solved through this Launch You Accelerator. It's a brilliant program, great credential to have whenever you are looking at uh, going for a job, when you can say that I already worked on a like project. That gives a huge weightage. The other part that I wanted to highlight is Queensland module. Again, on similar lines, but more specific industries where you want to experience a new innovative technology or a new innovative way of doing a work, we create these stimulation experiences in areas like advanced manufacturing, sustainable energy, biomedicine, tourism, and events, so that again students have understanding of how the business is done, what should they be prepared with when they go into the real world and look for jobs. Third part, again, a very innovative idea. Uh, Study Queensland came up with a credential. They went to several corporates around Queensland, asking what kind of talent are you looking for? And 6 skill sets came out that were highly important. Name on the bottom of the screen, you will see emotionally aware, digitally effective, collaborative, innovative, and so on. If a candidate has these skill sets, we want to talk to that candidate. So to ensure that our students do get those exposures, we launched an application. You do different activities, different projects to cover these 6 different skill sets and upload your assignments onto our application. We will evaluate, and depending on how well you have done, we will give you grading. And once you have all 6, we will issue a certificate. Again, a very solid credential for a newcomer coming into the job market. We were part of Study Queensland, Government of Queensland program, and we have the skill set that you're looking for. Here are some of the key industries that are mentioned. Ankur, how are we doing with time? I have about 3-4 minutes of my presentation. Is that okay?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Thank you, Ankur. Few industries which are already on your left, the ones that you're seeing, the ones which are already very strong in Queensland. Tourism, hospitality, as I mentioned, look at the pictures of Queensland and you will be not surprised that it is one of the top sectors. Mining, again, is a very big one. There are over 800 mining companies just in Queensland. And when we think about mining, we think about traditional mining, coal, and that is how it is. But there is a whole aspect of automation, new technology, sensors, engineering angles, the servicing. So within mining, again, there are many substreams where a lot of the programs that you are looking for can help you get there. Aviation, aerospace, health sciences, engineering, IT, all of those areas are already picking up a lot of steam, lot of employment already exist in those areas. The ones that we are developing right now are in aged care, construction, advanced automation, and electro technology. These areas are the ones that we want to put more emphasis on, given the runway of 10 years up to the 2032 Olympics. And again, we are mentioning here the future industries where government is putting a lot of budget, a lot of effort to develop these areas in smart mining, biomedicine, advanced manufacturing, and all of those have bases in these new technologies like AI, IoT, machine learning. All of those areas are feeding into these various subsectors. And Brisbane as an Olympic host city for 2032, this is particularly important for us, but why it is important for you as a student. And this is something that I would want you to do some research on as well. Whichever city, state around the world becomes the Olympic host, what is the economic impact of that on that particular city, state? The benefits of that are humongous, not only as a sports city or a sports sector, that of course does get a boost, but your infrastructure, your hospitality, your banking, accounting, all of the areas get a huge lift. And uh, when this announcement happened, Prime Minister of Australia, Scott Morrison, mentioned that the benefits to the economy would be of tune of $18 billion, and this was validated by a KPMG, which is a leading consulting firm, uh, forecasting that 8 billion of those benefits will come to Queensland state, which will create close to 91,000 new jobs. And those jobs, of course, people who are part of the Queensland ecosystem will be able to take benefit of. And these are the sectors which we believe will benefit immensely from the Olympic outlook, the growth that will come out, infrastructure, international business and accounting, hospitality, events, of course, management, tourism, IT, and many more industries will come out of it, which we are not even aware about, because that's how quickly the world is changing. I will stop my presentation here, but I'm very keen to learn more about you as prospective students. What are your thoughts? What you want to know more? And I have mentioned here details of my colleague Ramya, that if you have any questions from the government perspective that we can address, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. And before I finish, I want to mention that this unique partnership that James Cook University, Upgrad and Chandigarh University has put together, it's such a excellent mechanism to experience best of three worlds. You're getting an India exposure, you're getting a high-tech edtech company supporting you, and a global exposure through James Cook. I don't think you can get a better deal and a most economical deal in terms of getting all these three exposures and credentials. So I would encourage you to look at this opportunity. I will be staying back for the rest of the webinar and look forward to hearing from you more. Over to you, Ankur.
Great. Thanks a lot for your presentation. I think we all want to prepare ourselves for the next Olympics in Brisbane. I think there are huge opportunities which any student can benefit out of it. And that's the whole thought process with which we have this partnership with JCUB, which is the center of the Brisbane, I think. And everybody who thinks about doing the business or even the tech, I think they will find a lot of career opportunities in Brisbane and in Queensland large. And that's the whole program is about. I hand it over to Shrikant now to walk us through the JCUB campus and other information about the program.
Sure. Thank you very much, Ankur, and lovely presentation, Abhinav. You're making me fall in love with Queensland all over again. Beautiful presentation, and of course, an excellent state to be in. So I'm just trying to share the screen, Ankur, and I think it's not allowing me to share the screen. Yes, now it should. All right, so I believe everyone can see the screen. If you can get a quick yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
awesome. All right. Firstly, thank you, Ankur, for the lovely introduction, and Abhinav, following your power-packed presentation, I hope to deliver some more important information to our future students. So today, I'm going to talk about James Cook University life as a student in Brisbane and the Upgrad and JCU arrangement that facilitates affordable transnational education to everyone. So I will be speaking for about 10 minutes, and of course, leaving you with ample time for Q&A at the end. Move on to the next slide. There you go. So as you can see in the yellow shaded portion on the screen, we are in the state of Queensland that covers the northeast of the Australian continent. And we have campuses in Brisbane. Further north of Brisbane, we've got Townsville. And further north of Townsville, we've got Cairns. We also have an international campus in Singapore. And today we are going to talk about the Brisbane campus. And on the following slides, we will delve into some interesting facts and figures on Brisbane. So a population of 2.4 million, which is a pretty modest population, not so densely populated city compared to some of the Indian cities. And in times of social distancing, I bet this is the most ideal situation to be in. Nearly 30% of Brisbane's population was born overseas. And, so that really means a diverse bunch of people assimilate here, and it truly is a melting pot of culture. Brisbane also is Australia's fastest growing capital city, ahead of other capital cities, including Sydney and Melbourne. However, my favorite is the last one that you see on the screen. That's the low cost of living in Brisbane compared to Sydney and Melbourne. The first time that I went to Australia was back in 2006. Back then, Brisbane was a good 30% cheaper compared to Sydney and Melbourne. In today's date, those dynamics have changed a little bit, but it's still 20% cheaper compared to Sydney and Melbourne, which are the other two popular cities in Australia. And of course, moving on to the next slide, a little bit about life as a student in Brisbane. When I was preparing this slide, I thought I'll put some key facts and figures, but then I also thought, let me share something that's my personal observation as well. So I'm literally just going to read out what's written on the screen. Safe and friendly city. We'll talk about that in a second. Excellent weather, 17 to 27 degrees. And I'm saying this in reference to particularly to Sydney, which gets really hot in the summer, and Melbourne gets really cold in the winter. Brisbane does not experience that kind of an extreme weather condition, and average temperatures throughout the year remain 17 to 27 degrees. And as a student, I think that's a wonderful, kind of a climate to be in. Brisbane also hosts Australia's largest welcome festival. And what this really means is nearly 10,000 students from all over the world assimilate in Brisbane each year as part of the Welcome Festival. And that just talks of the strong intent of their government to welcome international students in Brisbane and in Queensland. And further to what I just mentioned, when I was living in Brisbane, and I've spent time in different cities, I've had transient stays in Perth, Adelaide, Townsville, and a bunch of other cities, including Darwin. One of the key differences which I saw in Brisbane, and again, comparing it particularly with Sydney, Melbourne, is when you're on a public transport, when you're on a bus in Brisbane and you get off the bus, people in Brisbane, 7 or 8 out of 10 people in Brisbane, they would, before they get off the bus, they would say, "Thank you, driver." And this is just something so warming, so pleasing. And, it just tells you a lot about how the people in Brisbane are. When I compare that with Sydney, you will be lucky to find 1 person out of 10 saying, "Thank you, driver." And same thing in Melbourne. For me, it was something I observed in the several years that I spent in Brisbane. And it talks volumes again of how warm and friendly the atmosphere will be for you as a student in a city like Brisbane. So there are these many things which you will never find anywhere on the website or anywhere in a book, but it's something you will experience when you are in Brisbane as a student or as a tourist. I'll segue on to the next slide. This is a little bit about our world-class ranking, and a bunch of different ratings and rankings. The top 250 universities in the world on Times Higher Education World University Rankings, 29th, ranked 29th best modern universities in the world, 5 stars for learner engagement, but my favorite by far is the 5 stars for graduate employment, 11 years in a row. And the one that you see in green, the 5 stars, that's the one I'm referring to. Now, it's not something that we do well, but it's something that we do extremely successfully. There are only 3 universities in Australia which have 5 stars for graduate employment for 11 years in a row. There's only one university in Queensland which has this rating, and that's us. So a key strength area for JCU as an Australian university is graduate employment, is employability. And of course, the last one that you see, 5-star rating for graduate salary as well. I often get into an argument with our academic department when I talk about things like, what value is your education if it can't get you a job or it can't help you start your own business? From an academic perspective, that's a very bullish, very rude statement to make, but we all know we are investing $70,000, $80,000 perhaps to get a good job or start your own business, apart from, of course, improving your skill set. So this is where we really do things well, and we take the employment and your job opportunities very, very seriously. In the following slide, I will tell you a little bit more about what we do, particularly at the Brisbane campus when it comes to the employment and placements. So the first one that you're seeing here is the JobLinks Employment Services. Now we have our own placement cell located right on the campus to help you find part-time jobs, to help you find graduate placement, as well as a professional internship. Now, again, here, what we are trying to achieve is you don't just graduate with a degree certificate in your hand and that's it. We want to ensure that you get a good job. Even if it's a part-time job while you're studying, we want to help you, and we do help you with that. Graduate placements, our internships. Having experienced study at JCU myself 15 years ago, I can tell you in simplest words, internships are like your passport to getting full-time job in Australia, because internships are the real projects that you're working on in real companies. And we as a university grade you, your internship host would also grade you on your internship. And at the end of it, I've interviewed a whole bunch of students in the last 15 years. And most of them would say, after my internship, I was asked, do I want to continue working for that company? Because they love my project, because they love my internship. So this is an opportunity which is created at JCU so that you transition into full-time employment without much hassle. And of course, to back it all up, whatever I'm saying, the 5-star rating endorses what we think about our placement services. Student mentor program, again, something a lot of students, especially international students, they sometimes find it hard to adjust to the Australian way of learning or the Australian teaching, perhaps even the accent sometimes. We have our student mentor program, which helps the students in their journey, right from understanding the lectures to help getting some sort of assistance in doing their assignments, and a whole bunch of things to ensure that you succeed as an international student. You're able to progress your career, your study. Scholarships and academic excellence. I'm pretty sure most of you have been waiting for this, and we do have some very interesting scholarships and academic excellence awards at the university. In essence, if you qualify for some or all of these, you could save as much as 35% of your tuition fee, which, if considering most of the audience would be from India, you're looking at anywhere between 12.5 to 15 lakh worth of savings in your tuition fee. That's through your scholarships and academic excellence awards. So again, your $70,000 program can actually cost you, nearly about $45,000, $50,000 even, if you are able to crack some of the scholarships that we offer. The small class size focused learning. Again, I want to share a leaf from my personal playbook. as having spent time in Australia, studied in Australia, my favorite subject has always been competitive strategy, and it still is. It's a topic that's very close to my heart, competitive strategy. When I was studying MBA at JCU, I actually ended up scoring a high distinction in competitive strategy. And if you ask me, how did you manage that? Two reasons I want to share here. One, I am extremely passionate about competitive strategy as a subject, as a topic. And two, because we have deliberately kept our class sizes very small, it gives an opportunity to our students to literally just interrupt the lecturer and ask them the question or any clarification they need. Most universities in Australia, where you have 250, 300 plus students, it's a luxury for you to interrupt the lecturer and ask a question. At JCU, and particularly at Brisbane, we make sure it's your right. In fact, we pay the lecturers to stay beyond the lecture time for 1 hour and clarify any doubts with you, if you have any. And this really helps you in focused learning. It's not just a degree certificate that you walk out with, or not just a job, but you actually walk out with skills, knowledge, and a clear understanding of the concepts being taught at JCU. So my favorite feature at JCU is really the fact that we have the ability to provide you with a very personal experience and clarify your doubts much better, much better compared to a setting where you have 350 students in a class. We are talking about perhaps just 50 or 60 students in a classroom here. With that, I'm going to move on to the next slide. And this is a broad overview of the programs we offer at James Cook University's, all the campuses at JCU, which is, so we have 4 campuses, like I mentioned before. Today, we are talking about Brisbane, but these are all really programs that you can consider studying at JCU. Particularly speaking of Brisbane, business and commerce, hospitality and tourism, education, information technology are the ones that you would be able to find at James Cook University in Brisbane. And in the following slide, there is a quick snapshot of the Upgrad and JCU arrangement. And I believe Ankur may also talk a little bit about this going forward. But JCU has an extremely advantageous association with Upgrad and Chandigarh University, where, as you can see, if you are a student who has just completed your year 12 or A levels, you can actually commence your first year of BBA or BCA online at Chandigarh University, which is via Upgrad, of course, and transition into the second and third year of the Bachelor of Business or Bachelor of IT program at James Cook University, Brisbane. Now, what do you achieve under this very special arrangement? Number one, you graduate with an Australian qualification. Number two is that you are able to avail 2 years of post-study work visa, which is offered to every student who studies at least 2 years in Australia. So you get that benefit too. And last, but perhaps the most important, like I possibly mentioned before, is the fact that you save your tuition fee of up to $25,000 by choosing to study with Upgrad for the first year and then transitioning into JCU in Australia for the second and third year. So $25,000, if anyone, if your maths is weak, I can tell you that's pretty big amount of money, close to 15 lakhs. So, do look at this as an option, especially if you're a bachelor student considering study overseas. And I do believe there will be a whole bunch of questions. I want to limit my talking to the bare minimum so that you have an opportunity to speak and ask questions as well. So I believe this is my last slide. Let me just have a quick look. That's our tagline at the end, be future ready today. And that's our website. And of course, we are available here. You can Google James Cook University India staff and you will find us straight away. And with that, I'm going to thank you all for tuning in and hand over the baton to Ankur Dhawan back again.
Okay, thanks a lot. I think you've done my job already, but that is the upgrade advantage I want to talk about. But I'll just spend a little more time. So for everybody's knowledge, I think I saw a question on how a middle class student can think of studying abroad. I think that's a pretty relevant question to our discussion today. We all came from middle class, and so I can relate to what you're asking about. And I didn't have this opportunity at the time when I was studying to look at studying abroad. So I missed this. You don't need to miss it. Something which has existed for a long time, called articulation agreement, transfer agreement, and has been done between universities for so long, has not been told as well to the students and their parents. That's the job which Upgrad has taken over, to tell you that this is a perfectly legal way of studying abroad, and you won't lose any advantage which you associate with a studying abroad opportunity. So when you think about studying abroad, what you are thinking about going to Australia, getting a high quality education, getting to work with the companies in Australia, either a part-time or full-time, to meet the international students, build a network, and have a good lifestyle. I think all of these 5 points which I mentioned, all of these are available to you at a lower price. So if that does not attract you, so I don't know how to answer that question. And Shrikant mentioned $25,000 odd scholarship, which is basically not scholarship. I'll say this is the savings which you get. Is it you can call it a scholarship, you can call it a savings, but end of the day you don't have to spend that money. Plus the living cost, you save a huge amount on living costs as well, because that is another thing which you have to spend once you go to study abroad. So 1 year of living cost, 1 year of tuition fees, plus if you do well in Chandigarh University and do well in your class 12, there are further scholarships given by universities abroad. JCU has a very attractive scholarship proposition of 20% of your fees, which you can avail. Now, the program which we have is starting with Chandigarh University. You can do year 1 of BBA or BCA with Chandigarh University, and then transfer to James Cook campus for 2 years and complete the remaining studies. You'll get a bachelor in business or bachelor in IT degree. We also have bachelor in tourism and hospitality as an option. I think Abhinav talked about Olympics 2032. Shrikant talked about tourism, hospitality as one of the main, I'll say, service industry based out of Queensland and Brisbane. You can look at that option as well if you think that you want to build a long-term career in tourism and hospitality. So the program has got multiple options for students who wants to pursue their bachelor's in Australia. You will get to your 2 year of post-study work visa. I'm sure you will get job much before that, given that job links, as talked by Shrikant, exists on the campus, which will help you prepare you for finding a job and then getting a job and then working there. And there's a multiple steps there, but yeah. So that's where we're talking about. You go work there, and the ROI, which is basically, we all understand, when you study in India, there is a certain cap on your salary which you can get in year 1 or year 2. And to reach a level of salary which you can earn in first year in Australia, you might have to spend 8 to 10 years in corporate life. That's what you get by just investing in your education at a much more attractive, I'll say, budget. And then when you study in Australia, you get to the starting salary, which is unheard of in India. So that's the Upgrad advantage. Now, what Upgrad has done is Upgrad has made this possible for you through Chandigarh University, a transfer relationship to James Cook University. We will help you in the overall process when it is in terms of the application to James Cook, getting you conditional offer letter, verifying your documents, helping you write your SOP for the visa interviews, ensuring that your documents are in place, your financials are in place. If you need education loan, we'll guide you on in getting an education loan as well, so that when you go to the embassy for your application, everything is in place. You get your visa, you go to James Cook and complete. So Upgrad will be hand-holding partner for you in your journey from day 1 when you start the course till the last day. In addition to what Chandigarh University is teaching you, the curriculum which is taught there, will also help you in multiple other modules, such as your IELTS preparation, which is a very most important part of this going abroad. It will be part of your conditional offer letter. You need to meet IELTS criteria, and also on various other topics which will help you do well when you go to Australia, whether it's academic writing, critical thinking, report writing, academic integrity, job search, career services, which we have, which we provide to all our alumni, will be available to you when you go to Australia. Now, that's where the upgrade advantage comes. And for people, many of us cannot go to Chandigarh to do the course. This is a very good opportunity. You can start online as well. You can study online as well, flexibly, as per your time availability. You can start studying online and then go to the campus where it will be full-time studies. So that is where I think upgrade advantage is. Now I'll see what questions are here and try to answer that. I think there's a question on Masters in Agriculture. Is there a course which you provide, Shrikant, in case of agriculture? Masters in Agriculture, if somebody wants to come to campus?
Good one, Ankur. I don't believe so, but to be very honest with you, across all our campuses, we offer, tens and hundreds of programs, and I would be, taking a screenshot of that inquiry, and if we have something relevant, I'll pass it on.
Yeah, great. So yes, Gautam, I don't know agriculture as an opportunity. Plus, I think Abhinav talked about multiple other opportunities in Queensland. You can look at tourism, you can look at mining, you can look at IT industry as well. Agriculture, I think, we'll have to keep for side and look at other opportunities which are available in JCU. I think you'll find many of them attractive for you. Okay, so Fuzail Liaquat Mullah is asking this question: can I study online and get my degree, or I have to travel to Australia? So Fuzail, the answer is this is a combination of online and on-campus program. Online component, when you're doing in India, the year one, it's online. You don't need to come to the campus, and that is the reality this year because campuses are not opening even in India also. But once this COVID year is over, go to Australia, complete 2 years of on-campus studies, and that's how you get 2 years of post-study work visa and opportunity to work in Australia, find part-time as well as full-time job. I hope that answers your question.
Ankur, if I may interrupt you for a second. Yeah. I just did actually find a link for the gentleman who asked, or perhaps the lady who asked about agriculture. And yes, we do have something we can offer. So I've just put that in the comment section.
Sure. Great. And I have a question here. Is there any option that we can do first in Chandigarh campus offline? Manish, yes, an option exists, and we are enabling this for all our learners. I understand a lot of learners and their parents have this question that can my student come to a classroom? Yes, we are enabling a classroom in Chandigarh. The only thing is that we are waiting for the COVID norms clarity from the government when we are allowed to open a campus. We don't want 50 students to come in a classroom and suddenly we have a COVID scare on our hands. So yes, an option is made available at an additional cost, where a face-to-face student facilitator faculty will be teaching you in Chandigarh. So yeah, that's the answer to Manish's question. Is MBA in aviation available in James Cook University? Question is from Manas Adhikari. Shrikant, to you.
No, I don't believe so, unfortunately. Ankur?
Yeah, I think, Manas, I think this is the first time I'm hearing aviation as a specialization. Typically, I've heard strategy, I've heard operations, and I believe MBA in operations will be very close to what you're looking at as an aviation management. Because end of the day, aviation is a lot of operations, flight operations and many other things which goes with it. So yes, we don't have that course, Manas, but you can look at MBA in specialization in operations, strategy, and other fields. Hi, sir, my question is related to hotel management. Whether to do bachelor's and master's degree in Australia for hotel management, or do bachelor's in India and master's in Australia. This is question from an anonymous attendee who wants to know whether he should come for bachelor's in hotel management to Australia, or he should only come for master's. What do you answer, Shrikant?
Yeah, that's a good question. I've been actually getting these questions quite a lot in the last few years. And, my opinion is that there's no right or wrong decision here, whether you should go as a bachelor student or as a master student. Really, what you need to look at is how's your career, how's your study, how are your plans going in life in general. If you are quite determined that you want to get into the hospitality or hotel or tourism industry, then the earlier you get into that, the better. So from that sense, if you do an undergraduate program of hotel management or hospitality in Australia, you are in a position to kickstart your career much faster. So if you are already engaged into an undergraduate program in your home country, then there's no point leaving it half and then trying to get credits or something of that sort. So in that sense, from that perspective, you may want to complete your study and go for a master. But if you're a year 12 student, I would suggest the sooner you kickstart things, the better it is going to be.
I'll just add on here, Ankur. Usually I have seen, and because I have worked in other destinations as well, I've seen that students who are going at a relatively younger age, they're able to integrate into the society much faster. So just purely from the fact that how quickly you will make friends with the local community there, how well you adjust to uh, their traditions and festivals. Sooner you go, quicker you can do it. But of course, there are cost implications involved. Usually, bachelor's degrees are slightly expensive because they're of longer duration. So you need to look at what financial position you have. But if you have availability for both, I think you should consider going at a bachelor level.
Okay. And Abhinav, I think that's what we were mentioning, that because year one is relatively no cost for these students, they can actually look at bachelor's. And very valid point, Abhinav, you added that the sooner you go to Australia, it's better for your career. You get assimilate with the whole like the native population and build your career. And yeah, so that's the answer to you, anonymous attendee. So I'll leave it to that. Fuzel is asking for MBA. Do I have to give an entrance exam? I don't think Australia has any entrance exam. Yeah, go ahead, Shrikant.
No, not really. All we would need is for you to qualify from your academic background to meet our entry requirement. And one of the key criteria is the English, that is the IELTS or the PTE, as you know, these are English language tests. So we need a certain score across each of these English tests. So you need to meet the English and academic requirement. And because Australia is very particular about, your actual intent of studying, whether your intent is to really study or you're just wanting to migrate, there is a certain genuine temporary entrance check, which is more like how you have a visa interview, for instance. So universities conduct their own compliance check and ask you questions relevant to your study, your future plans. Nothing extraordinary, something that's, it would be given for you to know it. So that's the third sort of criteria you need to fulfill. No other requirements when you compare it with the likes of, US universities. It's quite different in Australia.
Yeah, I think he has one more question just to close that. In Australia, what is the academic year?
Sorry, I'm not too sure what that means. Do you mean the intake or?
Yeah, intake. I think like in India, we follow July to March as an academic year. I think he wants to know
right
the intake.
Okay. So for international students, really it works on a system of intakes. For example, we have 3 intakes at James Cook University. So our intake starts from February, the first one, May is the second intake, and then we have a third intake of the year, which is September. So any international student can commence in February, May, or September, irrespective of when they finished their previous qualification back in their home country.
Yeah, got it. And now we have a question from Devesh Ajamire. I have completed BTech in Mechanical Engineering with 7.5 CGPA. I want to pursue Masters in Mechanical Engineering in Australia. What is the scope of Mechanical Engineering in Australia? This is a bit a generic question, but I think if you were listening to the presentation by Abhinav, you would have guessed that mining is one of the sector, and mining requires a lot of mechanical engineer. And I'll leave Srikanth to add there.
Yeah, I believe, look, broadly speaking, perhaps if Abhinav wants to speak particularly about mining, but broadly speaking, engineers are some of the most sought after professionals in Australia, alongside IT professionals. Accounting professionals are still required, but that trend is sort of changing. So the top two fields in Australia, speaking of Queensland even, IT, engineering, no matter what engineer you are, you will find a job, a company, or someone who would welcome you with a red carpet.
Yes.
I agree here that there's a deep shortage of skilled talent in engineering fields, all engineering fields. And if you are good at your trade, I think you will not have trouble finding jobs. And these statistics are very easily available. But focus should be that you know what you are going to look for a job. They will expect you to come with a skill set, and not that they will teach you from day one itself. So they would want you to be committed to your program from the very start itself.
Great. I think one question which is on that if someone has studied chemical engineering, or I think let's make it more generic, one branch you have studied but you want to now move to computer science because that is the most sought after. Is this allowed, or do you need to continue only in the field of study which you have done for your graduation?
You've touched a sensitive nerve over there, Ankur, because that's a pretty hot topic in terms of the last item that I mentioned about criteria, and it's the genuine temporary entrant criteria of the Australian government or the Australian Visa Office, High Commission. One of the things they're looking for is the intent of the student to study in Australia, and the intent, how they determine how serious they are about studying is by looking at the profile, the background, and the proposed course of study. So when you are a chemical engineering student, and by virtue of having many opportunities in IT, you want to go into IT, as a career move, as a change in career, and you're trying to pivot your career into a different field, fair enough, and I support that. But you should be in a position to justify that change on a piece of paper, which we call as a statement of purpose, or through your interview. So as long as you can justify the rationale behind the change in your career, and this is a pretty drastic change from chemical engineering to IT. But if you can, maybe supply some evidence and prove that you mean business and why you want to do IT, then there is no challenge. But yes, it's not going to be as smooth as smooth compared to an engineering student going for an engineering program in Australia.
Aditya Verma has asked the same question again. I'll just answer him. Is there any entrance exam for entering in hotel management in Australia? There are no entrance exams to go to Australia except the IELTS, which is the English proficiency exam. You have to clear IELTS, TOEFL, PG, depending upon what the university is asking for. You can look at 3 options or maybe more than that option. Apart from that, you need to have good academics and you have to clear the GT as mentioned by Srikanth. These are not entrance exams, these are entry requirements, I'll say. Yeah, and how can I give those English tests? Fuzel, I think you can just read about it, about the English proficiency. IELTS is available, a lot of information is available online, you can go through it and you can block a seat and give the IELTS. And if you want ADQSC join our program with Chandigarh University to JCU, we will help you in doing the IELTS preparation as well as IELTS exam as well. There's one question, is cosmetic science course available in JCU? I think people are now looking at as a dictionary and directory to know about JCU. And is PhD in computer science field available in JCU? These are 2 questions which I can see. Do we have a PhD in computer science? I'm sure it will be, but yeah.
Yes, we can connect you to the right person for PhDs. Yes, we do. We can assist you with that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Great. I think this more or less done for the questions, and we are also at the end of our time. Thanks a lot for joining us, both Shrikant, Abhinav, Ramya, and Panna. It's a pleasure having you all here and guiding our learners about the opportunities they will get in Australia once they join our program. So thanks a lot and have a nice day, all of you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ankur. Relish the
Thank you,
opportunity to
everyone.
present. Thank you,
Thank you,
everyone.
Ankur.
And
Thank you, everyone.
goodbye to everyone.
Bye.